Good morning, everyone. It's Lee Henson, president and founder of AgileDad, and it's time for today's edition of the Daily Stand-Up. Without any further ado, let's get started. One of the things that has been challenging for remote teams that I've noticed we've been getting a lot of inquiry about is how do we execute meetings in a remote setting? When we're all together, it was just so easy to have everyone there and to execute the meetings accordingly, to time box things, to know how to energize the room. There was just a lot of positive things that we could do. But now, with everyone being completely distributed and completely remote, it feels like we may have lost the magic or lost a little bit of the touch that we had before. So I hope that we can kind of zoom in and share some good information with you. Another thing that I found is that there are lots of sites out there. I found like at least two or three that have some really bad advice for remote daily stand-ups, and that kind of scared me. So I thought it'd be good to dedicate this Monday's edition or episode of the Daily Stand-Up to how to do an effective remote daily stand-up. There we go. So the first tip that I could give to you is even if the team is remote, make sure you have a clear team working agreement that everyone puts together, right? When you're working on a remote Scrum team, it requires you to have a new set of engagement terms, right? And I want to make certain that the team understands that, for example, when we do our daily stand up, that we're all going to commit to have our video on. I know that's a lot of pressure for some teams who are working international, but I think it's important that we all come to an agreement. We're going to time box the meeting to not last any longer than 15 minutes. That we're going to do the majority of the work we can outside of this meeting and reserve this meeting as a time for us to catch up quickly and have time to do the things that we need to do to help resolve impediments, etc. So step number one is make sure you have a clear team working agreement that highlights how you're going to execute in this meeting and what your expectations are. The second item is actually find a way to make the meeting interesting. Now, there are lots of games and interactive things that you can do online. Some people allow for social time. The truth is, we all miss those conversations, the hallway conversations, right? So I think it's important to encourage team members to talk to each other, to continue to get to know each other. Allow people to join a little bit early if you have the time, as long as you got a squirt in between. Um, Promote them having a little bit of conversation about social things before diving into business. When you're working with a team in India, make sure you find out how the cricket world cup's going. When you're working with a team in Australia, talk about how the All Blacks are doing in New Zealand or whatever the case may be. The point is there's always some time for something social that we can do. Yes. Okay. Number 3, use a digital project management platform. There are too many people out there who are trying to get everyone on a call at the same exact time. I need you at this time, I need you at this time, and it's causing some people to be up at 10, 11 at night, and other people to be awake at 9 a.m. This just simply isn't productive. What I'm finding is when you're using tools, especially Microsoft tools or Jira or Rally or version 1 or whatever tool you're using, what I'm finding is that while they have really good boards that you can use and platforms you could use to host your daily stand-up, that oftentimes what we're seeing is that requiring people to come in at those strange times is it's daunting at best, right? So one of the things that I've learned is you need to leverage additional tools. Now, let me explain. If you leverage a tool like Mural or Miro, you can actually set up an API that allows you to have a board that looks like Zoom with all the different people in a gallery. And then what you can do is you can record your daily stand-up at a time that's convenient for you. Now, the way I encourage you to do this is to come on, view everyone else's daily stand-up that is updated, and then record yours for the next day. And then other people will log in, view all the other daily stand-ups, and record theirs. What this does is it allows for healthy conversation. It allows you to establish some sort of culture. It encourages you to have your camera on because you're the only one there. And it allows you to really get a bird's eye view into everything that's going on. And it allows you to work real time around the clock. So this is just a more all-inclusive approach to making certain that you're leveraging the tools that are there and not asking people to be there at strange times. If you do have a group of people who are all together in one location, of course they can meet together, and of course they can have someone facilitate on their side. The next one has to do with real-time updates. One of the things I hate is when I go into, and hate is a strong word. How about loathe? When I walk into a daily stand-up, whether it's remote or not, and someone's on the call and they're saying, "Can you update number 976413 and move that one to the status ready for testing?" No, not in testing, or ready for testing. Yes. And then the next one down there, yes. Could you update that one as well? And could you put in 1.4 hours? Oh my goodness. I'm done. Just with that one report, I'm done. We need people to update things outside of this meeting so that we're not spending time here with the distributed team trying to update our tool. We need to make sure we have real-time updates. We need to make sure we're keeping things up to date. We need to make sure we're on point. Yes. Another good rule or guideline is if you are going to do this live with everyone on the same call, maybe you're in a contiguous United States and everyone can be on at a certain time, use video. There's no replacement for body language. Even if it's difficult for some people to say, "Hey, I want to be online," there's no harm in using video. We're not going to judge whether you have skin blemishes or a good hair day or a bad hair day. It's all a matter of just being online, being yourself, and producing a really, really good presentation. Now, the last piece of advice that I have is time box. Make sure this meeting is time boxed to 15 minutes. I usually say 30 seconds per person, not to exceed 15 minutes. Sometimes I'll throw up a desktop timer or a duck race timer just to keep things interesting, just so that I can run in the background so that people can become familiar with how fast 30 seconds is. We make sure we stay within our 15-minute guideline. There's lots of value to be had there. Now, many pages are promoting, or I shouldn't say pages, many organizations are promoting two things that I have a mixed review about. So I want to make sure I share both of those. The first one is recording the meetings. Now, some people say, "Oh, record the meeting. So if you're not able to attend or someone's not there, you can share it in a Slack channel or a Confluence page." Or I think that's a bad idea. All that does is encourage bad behavior. If you record your part of it and then record over it the next day, like we were discussing before for extreme remote teams, that's fine. But anytime you're recording the meeting so you have some type of output, one of my stern rules in this meeting is there should be no output to the daily stand-up. This is the team's meeting. They should be excited to meet with each other and talk to each other. The second you start recording this meeting, it turns into a status report and it loses all of its value. So, as far as I'm concerned, this meeting should never be recorded unless it's an individual recording their report for the next day so that someone else can see it and then they can update in real time. That's the only exception I have to that rule. The second one is about sharing artifacts or sharing a burn down chart during the meeting. I definitely feel like that's a bad idea. Let me explain why. The second you start putting stuff up on a screen, people are going to start paying attention to the screen. They're going to stop focusing on the thing at hand, and they're going to stop paying attention to each other. Now, at the conclusion of the report, once everyone's had an opportunity to do their talking, then it's a good time for us to share the burn down. The last one are the three questions. I've been to one too many meetings where it's, "What did you do yesterday? What are you doing today? Do you have any impediments?" The truth is, especially with remote teams, sometimes the team here, the group here, may not even care about what the team's working on over there. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying it's hard to put together a solid daily stand-up if that's the case. So my recommendation is to make certain that we have relevant questions that make sense that are going to keep people engaged. I think the key to having a successful daily stand up is to remember that it's not what did you do yesterday? It's did you complete the things that you committed to do yesterday, right? And if not, why not? Because I think that's important. But I don't want to know what you did alternatively. I want to know what did you do to meet your commitment, right? The second one, instead of "what are you going to do today," could be "what do you commit to do today?" That way, it just kind of rounds it off and reminds people about the focus of this meeting. The focus of this meeting is not on output. The focus of this meeting is to meet our sprint goals, to meet our objectives, to make sure that we're all moving in the right direction, to make sure we're going to build a solid increment. And then finally, instead of "do you have any impediments," this is my favorite one at all. My favorite one of all three. It should be, if you have an impediment, why'd you wait until now to tell us about it? Most impediments can be resolved way before this meeting. I think it's important for us to update, especially impediments in real time, and let people know when things are happening. Well, I hope this information was useful to you. As always, we encourage you to visit agiledad.com where you can learn more about this topic and many others. And as always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care.